Hey guys, welcome back to World of Tanks. My name is Bruce and today I want to showcase the new tier 5 Japanese heavy tank, the Mitsu 108. How good is this tank and is it worth to play? I will give you an answer in this video. So here it is, the new tier 5 Japanese heavy tank, the Mitsu 108. Is this tank worth to play or should you instantly skip it and proceed with tier 6? Well, first of all, let me show you how I play this tank. First of all, my crew does not have 100%, but that is only because I'm now already playing the tier 7 tank. So when I played this tank, of course, it had a 100% crew. Now, my crew has brothers in arms, then the gun handling skills, which I think are super important on this tank. Now, of course, the commander does have the view range skills. The loader does have intuition, which is super important and is now working on safe storage. And then I'm training basically repairs. And then the driver is working on off-road driving because I want to keep the top speed of this tank. Now, the equipment is super important. I play this tank with improved hardening in order to boost the HP pool of this tank. Furthermore, I concentrate on the gun handling, and so I play this tank with improved aiming and also with enhanced gun lane drive. So is this tank good or is this tank bad? One of our most likable CCs, and I really mean this, out there suggests the following.
Still, this honestly, it's not a good tier 5 tank. It is playable, but if you do have the free experience, it might be worth avoiding this one. Alright, so now let's...
Alright, first game in the Mitsu 108. So is this tank bad as Quickie Baby is suggesting? Well, let's find out, and let's first of all take a look at the statistics of this tank. Well, to answer that question, let's first of all take a look at the statistics of the tank. And here you can see the base statistics of the Mitsu 108. So super bad base DPM. Gun handling is below average, 0.44 dispersion. About 3 seconds of aim time, really lackluster. Top speed only 35 kph. The power to weight ratio is actually not too bad for such a super heavy tank. It has no armor whatsoever and it has a poor view range. But the strength of this tank is its 300 alpha damage on a tier 5 tank. This is brutal. And in my opinion, this compensates for most of the other weak stats. Besides this, you have 900 HP. And if you boost that with your equipment, you can have in about 1000 HP, and this combination makes this tank super strong in my opinion. Now, can you make use of this 300 alpha damage with your poor gun handling? There are people who say that this tank has such a poor gun handling that your 300 alpha damage is useless. I do not think so. So let me give you an example. So with such a tank which has a below average gun handling, of course you have to try to fully aim in your shots. But if you do so, the gun is actually not too bad. So let's take a look at the T71. We try to fully aim in and we can even conduct, let's say, a snapshot because we were not fully aimed in over a distance. So in my opinion, the gun actually works if you really try to fully aim in your shots. So back to this game. Well, of course, first of all, we're spawning in Paris. So we want to go to the heavy lane and support our heavy tanks. Now, after we've taken a look at the statistics, we know one thing, and that is we have to try to fully aim in our shots. Now, we have about 1000 HP that we can trade, but we always want to fully aim in our shots in order to make our damage and in order to be successful, because this tank does not have snapshot capabilities in general. So let's see how it goes. We want to go down here, and from here we can shoot to the J6 position, and we want to slowly turn around the corner in order to be aimed in once we approach this corner. So it looks like the adversary tanks are pretty slowly advancing to their position. I loaded premium ammunition in order to really make sure that I'm able to penetrate those tanks. Okay, the first shot actually missed. So I want to fall back into cover and then peek out once my my gun has reloaded. Now, in such a tank where you want to trade one by one, it is imperative that you can fall back into cover, just like with the Concept 5. So if you would trade 1v1, then not your alpha damage is important, but your DPM. And you just saw the horrible statistic of this tank when it comes to damage per minute. But we want to make our alpha damage count, and so we want to be able to fall back into cover as soon as we've taken a shot, because if we trade 1-for-1, we can basically outplay every other tank on tier 5 simply because of our high amount of HP pool plus our 300 alpha damage. So that's what I want to do exactly in this situation. Notice how I always want to move out extremely slowly out of cover, because I do not want to have my aiming circle bloom out when I want to take a shot. Instead, I want to be almost fully aimed in, and here you go. I can make this trade any day of the week. 304 versus 119. That is the strength of this tank, and I would go so far to say that 300 alpha on tier 5 is extremely well and extremely nice. And of course, Wargaming has to balance out this tank, because otherwise it would be flat out OP. So in my opinion, this 300 alpha damage makes this tank strong on tier 5, and I had a lot of fun to play this tank. So here you go. Let us see. You know what? I do not want to peek out right here, but instead I want to go here and try to surprise this Churchill over here, because once again I want to bring myself in a situation in which I can trade 1-for-1, and that's what I can do behind this building, because I have cover so that I can fall back. The only thing I need to pay attention is I do not want him to be able to track me. Okay, here we go. To take a shot onto the Panzer 3J. Excellent. And yeah, I mean, if I can trade 1v1 against the Churchill, he does not have any chance against me, simply because I have so much HP that I can trade. And I mean, with 3 shots, I can take this tank out. No problem whatsoever. So let's play cautiously, let's play smart. And as soon as he turns around, now he's trying to re-aim at our teammates. And so that's the chance for us to take a shot. And we do not even lose any HP whatsoever. So that's, in my opinion, how you should play this tank. You cannot simply try to overwhelm your opponents due to the lack of DPM that you have in your tank. But what you want to do is you want to make your gun work, your 300 alpha damage, and you want to trade 1-for-1 against one single opponent all the time. And now it is time to focus out this tank, and let's aim in. No matter, he's taking a shot, but I don't care. I want to fully aim in my shot. That is important, and that's how you can make this tank work. Okay, perfect. So we won the heavy lane. Now it's time to further advance in order to take out the Mitsu 108, and then we should be able to clean the remaining picture of the enemy team. So 2 kills, 1700 damage in a tier 5 tank. This is brutal in my opinion. If you know what you are doing, this tank can be brutal. And yes, in my opinion, this tank is above average simply to the outstanding alpha damage on tier 5. 1997 damage, and now it's time to hurry up. This tank isn't even as slow as, for example, a Mouse or a Moistion. So another strength of this tank, you get 300 alpha on tier 5 plus a relatively fast mobile tank. Yes, it is limited with 35 kph, but the power to weight ratio, as you saw, is far from being lackluster. And so, okay, let's fully aim in, and let's take a shot right here. And as you can see, the gun actually works. It is not too bad for such a great alpha damage. Okay, so let's hurry up and let's see whether we can get another shot. We're way faster than the Matilda, and yeah. So in my opinion, this combination of a, let's say, an relatively fast super heavy tank in combination with a gun which has 300 alpha but which is not a derp gun makes this tank super strong on tier 5. And as I said, I had a blast playing this tank because it is super fun to deliver 300 alpha on tier 5. Let's try to fully aim in. Okay, this shot does not hit, but you know what, we can simply further advance because this Matilda is simply hiding here, and we will take another shot. Of course, we want to wait until the gun is reloaded, and bam, another 277, so 2.5k damage on the Mitsu 108 in a city battle. And I think this game really showed how strong this tank is if you know what you are doing and if you are exploiting the strength of your tank. Alright, second game. This time we spawn in a tier 7 match, so we are low tier and we are spawning on a map where gun depression is really required, at least if you want to rush or win the C1 position, which is the strategic position of the map. So let's take a closer look of the gun depression of this tank. So as you can see, this tank does not have any armor whatsoever for a heavy tank, even on tier 5. Now, what I want to show you is, take a look at the gun depression. Yes, you have 10 degrees of gun depression, but only if you point your gun exactly frontally, then you can use 10 degrees of gun depression. Those two little turrets here, which are a tremendous weak spot, by the way, prevent your tank from having gun depression over the side. So as soon as you turn your turret, as you can see, your gun depression is reduced to 2 degrees. So you cannot use your gun depression when your turret is turned towards the side like this. If you then further turn your turret to a, let's say, a 90-degree angle, that's where you finally get your 10 degrees of gun depression back. But the point is, and that's important to notice, if you want to use your 10 degrees of gun depression on a ridgeline, either you have to peek out of cover in a 90 degrees angle, or you have to face your opponents exactly frontally like this. So that is super important to notice on this tank. So here's what I meant in game. I am trying to peek out of cover with a standard, let's say, 40 degrees angle, and yeah, as you can see, the gun depression only works once we turn our tank sidewards. So if you peek out like this, like in a normal tank, the gun depression actually doesn't work. And so this can be a hindrance if you want to fight against other tanks. Alright, so here we are, and let's see where our team decides to go. Well, okay. In my opinion, in a low tier tank, you have to see what your team is doing, and thereafter you can make a decision where you want to go in your tank. So as you can see, our team is fortunately trying to win the strategic position on this map, and so we want to support our team. Now, yeah, let's, you know what, let's support our team. Unfortunately, our top tier heavy tank, the VZ44-1, goes to the other flank on his own, which is per se a bad choice, but that's how it is. We have the IKV-90B, the top tier tank destroyer, supporting us on the C1 position, and so it is my task to follow those tanks and to also try to win this strategic position. The Churchill 1 meanwhile is in the middle. Okay, first tank AMX has been taken out, which is bad, but that's how it is. And now here is the position where I need to think of my gun depression and how I can make use of my 10 degrees of gun depression. This is why I'm trying to choose to approach this position like this, so that I put those adversary tanks exactly frontally to my tanks, so that I can use 10 degrees of gun depression. Of course, I need to load premium ammunition, and okay, RT is focusing me, so I need to fall back and make sure that I'm not spotted anymore, so that I don't get taken out by adversary artillery. So yeah, this tank does have its limits, simply because of the lack of armor, and this also applies for your turrets. So you cannot simply brawl in such a tank like in the tier 6 M6 American heavy tank, which has a superb frontal turret armor. So that's how it is, but nonetheless, we want to make this tank work, and I think it has been a good choice to approach this position, because it is the strategic position after all on this map. So let's see, our 40 TP actually proceeds out of cover, which is nice because he is a tier 6 tank after all, and he has a much better chance of penetrating our opponents so that we can basically kill them. Unfortunately, our top tier TD has been taken out of the game. Okay, that's super unfortunate. 4-4, the game is relatively close. However, our team is making pressure. Maybe this is good for us, because sooner or later those tanks will have to turn around. Meanwhile, the T-24 is pushing us, which is good because this tank does not have any frontal turret armor, and maybe we can trade 1v1. Here you go, and bam, nice. 105 versus 263. I think this is a good trade, and now I want to fall back and see that my gun is reloading, and now as it has reloaded, I can move out of cover. And notice how I stand still to expect this tank. I want to be fully aimed in, and bam, so now I can take out this tank. This tank is not a snapshot tank. Yes, as I showed you, if you try to fully aim in your gun, this gun really works. And so what you want to do is you want to stand still, be fully aimed in, and have those adversary tanks drive into your gun. That's how you want to play this tank. So once again, try to be fully aimed in, and bam, 309 alpha on tier 5. This is brutal, not only for tier 5, but also for tier 6 and even for tier 7. So yeah, in my opinion, this tank is really strong, as I said in the first game. So let's see. Most likely the FSV will go to the E3 position, and I do not want to face him because he is a snapshot tank. He has a snapshot gun, and he can quickly move out of cover, take a shot onto me, and then fall back, and I will most likely not be successful against this tank. So let's go back to this position and let's try to get another hull down shot with being positioned frontally to my opponent so that I can use the 10 degrees of gun depression that this tank has. Here you go. That's a Panther, which I can easily penetrate with my premium ammunition. Nice. He even bounces, which is pretty good for me. Pretty lucky. And so 1000 damage in a low tier battle. I call that one pretty successful. Now, we are the last tank on our flank, which is bad. And so I want to leave because I do not want to brawl frontally against the Juno. The Juno actually has a pretty good armor if you play hull down, at least against same tier or even lower tiers. So I think I should leave and simply fight alongside with my T-34 in order to get some more shots with my tank. Okay, so here you go. Okay, I'm spotted. So unfortunately, my flanking maneuver is of no use anymore because the Juno will turn around because he knows where I am now positioned. Now we have to wait until our team is approaching our position and is exploiting the map control that we have. The game is still relatively close, so we have not won the game yet. And let's see, I'm expecting the Juno actually to proceed to our position. So can I get a shot onto this tank? I do not want to risk it. Okay, here you go. Here he comes. And so let's fall back. Okay, looks like he's rushing our position. And can we get a shot? Maybe. You know what? We can trade against him. Here you go. We managed to take a shot into his cupola, but now we're taking out, and now our reload is simply too long in order to get another shot. But yeah, I think that was a great performance in a tier 7 battle. And once again, 1340 damage and another win in this tank. So here's my overall performance of the Mitsu 108. So I played 11 battles with this tank and I achieved an astonishing 81, almost 82% of victories in those 11 games. Due to the high alpha damage, I managed to get a damage ratio of 2.15 and a destruction ratio of 3.17. So if you fully aim in, this gun actually works. And you can see that I managed to get 77% of hits, so of shots that actually made it to the adversary tank. And as I told you, you can make this gun work if you try to fully aim in your gun or your shot. Now, in those 11 battles, I achieved an astonishing 1460 damage. And once again, this is a tier 5 tank. So in my opinion, this tank is a good tank. And let's now go into the last battle. Alright, last battle for today in the Mitsu 108. This time we spawn on Berlin, and of course there's only one choice for this tank, and that is the heavy lane. You want to brawl against other heavy tanks and deliver your 300 alpha damage to the adversary tanks, so no question where we want to play. Now we are playing in a tier 6 battle, so we are once again low tier, so we have to play a bit more cautiously. Now, to summarize this tank, is it strong? In my opinion, yes, due to its fantastic alpha damage and due to its relatively high amount of HP that you can trade. Now, is it easy to play? Well, in my opinion, not. Once again, due to the below average gun handling, which is of course a good balancing feature. Plus, it is not the easiest thing in World of Tanks to play smart and to consciously trade your HP if your tank does not have any armor whatsoever. That requires a bit of skill, and so it's pretty difficult for new players, I would say. But overall, I really liked this tank, and I think it is a good tank on tier 5 and a fun one to play. So I can really recommend not to skip this tank, but to really play it and to get your experience, to basically trade HP consciously without having any armor, because if you manage to do this on tier 5, you will have so much easier experience with the tier 6 tank of the Japanese heavy tech tree line. So that is my recommendation. Plus, as I showed you, you can actually make use of your gun depression, and it's always beneficial to go to Tanks GG and to take a look at the exact armor profile, at the exact statistics, and to make yourself a picture of how your tank works. This is not only important for this tank, but for any other tank, especially for heavy tanks and also for tank destroyers, even more than for light tanks or for medium tanks. Alright, so another thing I want to add to this kind of conclusion in this video is, in general, you cannot play proactive with a tank which has such a bad gun handling and with which has such a poor snapshot capability. And this applies basically for a lot of heavy tanks which lack armor. So what you want to do in the Mitsu 108 is you want to play reactive, and you want to let your adversary tanks make the mistakes and basically drive into your fully aimed in gun. This is how you will make those shots and how you will be successful and how you will actually penetrate and make the gun work. Furthermore, you always want to have the chance to fall back into cover. Go, let's take a shot. Bam. Fall back into cover so that you do not have to rely on your bad DPM, but instead you want to trade 1-for-1 if possible against one single opponent at a time. And if you manage to do all this, then you will be successful in the Mitsu 108. So, okay, he's now taken an arty shot, which is good, and now we want to move out of cover and we can deliver our shot. Exactly, that's exactly what we want to do in this tank. We want to trade at best without losing any HP, and if we have to lose HP, then that is not too much of a problem, simply because we can outtrade every opponent in the game with our 300 alpha damage. Alright, so artillery is focusing us, so we need to make sure that we are not spotted, so that the RT player tries to focus another tank and is not concentrated on us basically. So that's what we want to do. Is this a super aggressive all-in quick gameplay? No, that is a reactive gameplay, but that's how you make this tank work in my opinion. So let us see. Our team is pushing in, but I'm not sure that time has come yet. Okay, I think now time has come. Now after this tank has been taken out, I think this is our time. Okay, here you go. Let's try to be fully aimed in, and another 343 damage on tier 5. Okay, I call that one brutal. And with a couple of shots, we already made 1,172 damage, which is superb on tier 5. There you go. Let's be fully aimed in once again. Maybe okay, he's taken out. Excellent. So yeah, okay. So let us proceed. And of course, this tank is not the fastest one, but it is not the slowest one either, which is another strength, as I already said. So 1,100 damage is already a decent result for a tier 5 tank, but maybe we can make some more damage. You know what? All my team is focusing on the remaining light tanks, so I want to focus on the remaining artillery, just like the KV-1, but we should have the speed advantage over this tank to arrive at the RT position first. I'm spotted, okay, by the light tank, of course, yeah, that makes sense. And so now, fortunately, okay, I do not have the, here you go, I try to be at least 70% aimed in, and this actually works. Nice. Okay, turns around to the right. I believe the remaining RT is at the A0 position. So can I get another shot? That would make this result actually perfect. Here we go, nice. So bam, and 1,753 damage in a tier 5 tank. In my opinion, this is the perfect conclusion for this tank. Is it a strong tank? In my opinion, yes, if you know what you're doing. Should you skip and avoid this tank? No, by all means. You should play this tank because after all, it is fun to play, and delivering 300 alpha damage on tier 5 consistently makes so much fun in World of Tanks. So no, please play this tank, have fun, enjoy this tier 5 tank, and then once you master this tank, you will be perfectly prepared for the tier 6 tank. Alright guys, that was it for today with a video about the new tier 5 Japanese heavy tank, the Mitsu 108. What do you think about this tank? Do you like it or do you hate it, and why is that? Just leave a comment in the comment section down below. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you hated it, give it a thumbs down. Consider subscribing to my channel, and I see you next time in another World of Tanks video.